Hello, and welcome to my video tutorial on how to make chicken Riggies. I got a little bit started so that I don't have to rush and do things while I'm talking to you. Basically, chicken Riggies is a red sauce with heavy cream, which makes it a pink sauce, and has chicken. Everything else is kind of up for grabs what you want to do. So I'm going to show you my version of chicken Riggies and explain to you why I think it's the best. Hey. You're on video.
What?
You're on video right now.
I don't know.
You're on video. The video's on. How are you? You sure? Oh, okay. Alright, so basically I got a red sauce going, and my theory on making a good dish, pasta or otherwise, is to make sure you're seasoning every bit of the dish, every part of the dish, no matter where it is, what it's doing. Season it as if it's its own dish, as if you have to rely on just the flavors of that part of it. If you stick by this, once you put everything together, it'll surely taste amazing. So what I have going on is I have a red sauce with just crushed tomatoes, and I threw some onions in there, white, in rings. I also got some garlic salt, regular salt, some pepper, Italian seasonings in there, and I'm letting that simmer and just soak in the flavor. On the other side, I have just butter, and that's sauteing mushrooms and onions and a little bit of garlic too. I like doing this before I throw everything else in there because, you know, when you saute mushrooms and onions, they kind of have their own flavor. So I like to exploit that before I start throwing everything else in, and give the mushrooms and onions their own individual heat before I start tossing the chicken in. And what happens is, once I do that with the onions and mushrooms, it kind of gives it like a grill bed for the chicken. The chicken kind of taking a lot of that flavor from the onions and mushrooms. And by putting the chicken in toward the middle, I can get the chicken cooked pretty well before I throw the peppers in. Because my thing about the peppers is I don't like them really cooked a lot. I like them a little firm. So we put them in the end. You're still getting some of the flavor out there. It's still part of the hot dish, but you're not losing some of the firmness that makes a pepper taste great. I don't like soggy peppers. I don't know about you. Did you possibly cut the other thing of chicken? It's right here. Alright, so we got that going. Here's another thing. With chicken Riggies, it's not about the chicken. It's not even so much about the white sauce. What makes chicken Riggies great is the peppers. The peppers are the most important part of the meal. Because with the peppers, it makes it so you don't have to season anything. I mean, the mushrooms and onions are really important too, but the peppers, there's so many different variations, there's still so many different flavors. You can go spicy, you can go sweet, you can mix them all together. This makes chicken Riggies, the way it's made, a superior dish because you kind of get this gigantic palette. It's like painting with a ton of different kind of colors. But people, people usually just use long hots, and that's basically it. Maybe they'll throw olives in, but I use several different kinds of peppers. Today I got orange bell, green bell, Anaheim, long hots, and Cubanello, I think. And then I have sweet cherry and hot cherry peppers. The thing about the sweet cherry and hot cherry I like to add these in is because the hot cherry a lot of time has a real nice firmness to it, and it doesn't go away when you cook it. Pretty much no matter how much you cook it, it doesn't really go away. And the sweet offset the spicy a little bit, so it's not too hot. The hot cherry peppers are really, really hot. When you throw those sweets in, you pour a little bit of the sweet juice from the cherry pepper jar. It's still spicy, but it's not too much. It doesn't overcome the whole meal. So we're getting the water going now. I use water from a spring. I don't use tap water. That's another thing I think that makes the dish a little bit better. You always got to go al dente with the pasta. You got to have a good brand of pasta. I'm not sure I'm allowed to actually show you the brand. But it's a blue box, and it rhymes with vanilla. That's all I'm saying. So right now is the waiting process, making sure that the mushrooms and the scallions and the garlic doesn't really overcook or burn. Another thing too, based on how spicy your Riggies, like that, I'm sorry, how spicy your Riggies is based on how many seeds you leave in the peppers too. If you wash a lot of the pepper or a lot of the seeds out, you can get a less spicy dish. If you keep more in, it's gonna be hotter. So you decide. The heat never seems to bother me, but it does for most people, so I like to take a lot of the seeds out because the cherry peppers are already doing their thing for the spice. Alright, so you have the red sauce going. You got to keep that on low. You don't want to burn it. It's not really, you have to cook it any length of time really. It's more about just keeping the flavors, rolling through and keeping it ready for the final mix down. So I'm going to try this. That actually tastes excellent. I didn't have to add any sugar. A lot of times you do because the tomatoes are bitter. When you put a certain amount of salt and sugar together, it completely annihilates any bitterness. No sugar and it tastes fine, so I'm going to skip on the sugar. Now, I don't use any exact measurements. With the mushrooms and the scallions, I just kind of like to fill the bottom of the pan. And the pan size is based on how much chicken I want to use. But a nice ratio is when you're using a pound of pasta, like I said, 2 cans of this, the large cans of tomato sauce, or crushed tomatoes, a quart of heavy cream. You might want to do, I don't know, 10 mushrooms, a whole bag, small bag of scallions, and with peppers, whatever the heck you want, whatever you can fit in the pan, that's how many peppers you're putting in. Because like I said, the peppers make the dish. It's undeniable. Got that. And it's everything, I'm telling you. It's not just the small stuff, it's everything. The mushrooms and scallions and the garlic first. Let them saute. Get those flavors out. The chicken goes on top. You cook that most of the way through. Then the peppers go on. You're not wasting a lot of time with those peppers cooking. You just want the flavors to come out a little bit. You do not want them to get soft. Not that it tastes terrible, because most people do Riggies with soft peppers, but I think consistency is extremely important. Since you already got a lot of soft stuff in there, switch it up a little bit. The great thing about sushi, for instance, is the variety of flavors and consistencies. This makes a dish of sushi an experience more than just food. You know, it's not a lot of complicated stuff. Like I said, the measurements are, the only thing you really get with measurements are the liquid stuff. The liquid stuff should have a good measurement because, you don't want it too liquidy or solid. And once you put the liquids in, you can base everything off of the liquids and on how much you put solids in. So, liquids are the only really important measurement. The butter, I use like a 3/4 of a stick of butter. My thing is when you're making a really good dish, it's not something you're doing all the time, kind of go all out. Use that extra fat because fat is your friend, right? That's what the cooks say. I'm not a cook. So use about a 1/4 stick. And if it needs more, like right now, it looks like it needs more. So I'm putting a little more in. I don't like exact measurements. It's not fun. You gotta go with your feeling. Food is about feeling. It's not empirical, If it is empirical, use empirical knowledge sparingly. Should be a great mix. America's a real technical society, you know. But I think even though we've made great strides in that area, see, now it's becoming like some kind of like socio-political, philosophical lesson. But because we've done that, we've cut out this other side, this more emotional. The right brain. I think the right brain is the creative side. We kind of like shunned that out of our existence as people. So there's something missing from everything in America, in a sense, you know, unless you got your pioneers, you know. So be creative. Don't hold yourself to these certain standards when you're doing this kind of stuff. Experiment, have fun with it. That's how I kind of create these dishes. Is I just kind of say, you know what? I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this in. And I'm gonna throw a little bit of that in. You know, it'd be cool if I had this kind of crunchy and this kind of soft. You know, you just mix it up. You know, you take a dish that's already a certain way, and you make it your own, and find out, you know, new elements to eating and to cooking that you didn't know before. All right, so chicken's being cut up now by my lovely assistant, and so I'm putting the cherry peppers in a little bit ahead of time. One, because I haven't broken them up yet, and that needs to happen. And two, because, like I said, cherry peppers I think are my favorite pepper in the dish. The taste, the flavor it gives it is like unbelievable. So I like to give them a little more of a head start. And since they're firmer, I really don't got to worry about them getting too soft. All the other ones I do. So cherry peppers got this. I learned it when I was actually working at a restaurant. I was only a dishwasher, but I was like, you know, learning how to cook, and you know, I would break up these peppers all day for their Riggies. And I just noticed how firm they were. And then, you know, I had the Riggies one night, and they almost tasted the same as when I was peeling them apart out of the jar. And I'm like, wow, you know. And I like that. I don't like squishy stuff in the meal too much. All right, so the chicken's coming up, and everything here is like really smooth sailing. The big rush, the intense part is the part that you didn't watch when I was off camera, and I was like, what the hell? You know, my butter was melting, and the garlic was almost burning, and just cutting everything up. You want to get everything ready. Get all your peppers cut up. Get all your mushrooms and your scallions cut up. Get your sauce heating up for about probably 20 minutes before you start this part here. You know, get it going. Get the water in there at least. Maybe not on. You know, you got to time the water right. That comes with experience too. Get everything cut up. So that way, all these steps I'm telling you can do, boom, 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 boom. Or just like that, it can happen. Alright, so the chicken's ready. So this is when I turn up the heat a little bit, because the chicken's got a lot of water in it. So when the heat turns up, you don't got to worry about it burning too much, because there's a lot of water coming out of the chicken, keeping it steaming. And like I said, it becomes almost like a grill for the chicken. So the chicken takes on the flavor of the cherry tomato or cherry peppers, the mushrooms, the scallions, the garlic, and a little bit of the butter too. Let's get it a little bit hotter, so we can kind of, you know, give the outside of the chicken a little bit of a firmer bite to it. Alright, so the chicken goes in. Right on top. I'm using a lot of chicken. You don't have to use this much. Another thing too is to save money on this. This dish is roughly about $30, but you can save money by replacing the chicken with more peppers, and that just makes it healthier as well. Especially if you can get your vegetables from a market, a local market, your farmer's market. Try to find places where it's organic. You know, they're not using any pesticides or any kind of whatever else the hell they use to make these vegetables weird. No GMO, you know what I mean? Try to really get it from your backyard if you can. I mean, we're growing stuff in the backyard now, you know, and it's unfortunate we can't do it now because it's too early in the season. You can't really, there's nothing to harvest that we could really use for this. So try to do that, because like I said, try to eliminate the steps you have to take to meet your food. You know, if you're getting your chicken in a prepackaged, you know, container, there's a lot of steps in between that you're not getting to see. But if you go to your local Amish, where you see the chicken alive before you get it to eat it, you know there's not a lot going on. And if you see that, you know, he's just grass feeding the chicken, or if you see that the vegetables, or if they're in your backyard and you're not spraying, you're just picking them. You know what I mean? You're watering them. You know what I mean? You know all the steps. That's good. That's really important. It makes for the dish. It just tastes better. Stuff that has less screwed up stuff in it that man is made to make more money. The less that's in there, the better the food tastes. So basically, this video, I don't want it to be too long because it'll be hard to upload, but I got the chicken here cooking. When the chicken gets almost all the way cooked, the peppers go in, then the heavy cream. Okay? You let that cook for a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes. Like I said, it's more about feeling. And then you're mixing the red sauce in, you're making your pink sauce. You want to al dente your noodles. You don't want them soft. You want them a little firm before you go in. That makes or breaks a meal too. The way the pasta is. You don't want to break it apart. You want it a little firm, okay? Because you're going to have a lot of time where it's heating up before you actually dish it out. And that'll cook the macaroni as well. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Of course, there'll be a more elaborate explanation and story behind the actual meal. And everything I've said here, I'm going to say again. This was just to give you a hands-on feel of how it works. So thank you, and hope you'll try this soon.